Welcome to another edition of Eye on the Community. I'm your host, Sean Anthony. Joining me next is the Chief Executive Officer of Rise Together Innovation Institute, Miss Danielle Sydnor. Welcome to the program, Danielle. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Sean. Grateful to be with you on this Eclipse Monday.
I know, right? Let's talk a little bit. First, let us know about Rise. What exactly is this organization and what is it all about?
Sure. Rise Together Innovation Institute was created by the Franklin County Commissioners as a public-private partnership in coordination with community after doing a study to understand why, as some Franklin County residents were benefiting from this growing region and economy, why everybody wasn't having the same equal kind of success in our local market. And as a result of that study, the Rise Together Blueprint on Reducing Poverty was commissioned by the Franklin County Commissioners. And one of the big ideas that came out of that was starting an organization that would be funded by our county government, that would be a separate 501c3 nonprofit that would focus specifically on disrupting structural racism and issues of poverty in our community. And so our charge is to really look at the systems and the policies that are in place that make it difficult for individuals to gain their own economic self-sufficiency, because we believe that people simply want to thrive, and there are barriers in place that prevent them from doing that.
Now, let's do a brief backstory. You come from banking and the financial world. Talk about that and what led you to take on this position in your career.
So I've always had a career in the financial services industry, but I would say I was a civic activist and social justice warrior that wore a suit and pearls, and really found a way to try and marry those two elements of things that mattered most to me. I believe that in a democratic environment that is based off of capitalism, you have to understand how the systems that govern our community and cause it to move work. And so that is what led me to be very interested in financial services. But at the same time, I understood that those systems didn't behave in an equitable manner, and that we had to understand how to bring the lens of activism and speaking truth to power to the bedrock of how we kind of navigate, which is our economic system. And so being in those spaces and learning from other individuals how we really build wealth in this country and why things like investing are really how things move, it really became incumbent upon me to think about how I could take that information and spread it more broadly to my community, and then advocate for access, because I believe, especially for Black folks and other communities of colors that have been marginalized, once we find out the trade, we always find a way to make a way. And you look at anything we've been denied access to, once we learn the rules, we blow it up and we excel.
Absolutely. Ms. Sydnor, talk about this earned income tax credit and how important it is for us to understand and know what's going on relating to that.
So the earned income tax credit is so important because it is one of the tools that our government has created to allow for individuals who are currently working and contributing to community to be able to get some relief back in the form of a refundable tax credit. The biggest challenge with it is individuals who likely actually stand to benefit the most are the least likely to apply because of the way that our tax code is written. You have to actually go file a tax return, even if you don't owe any taxes. In order to get this credit, you have to file a tax return. And so many times people in our community feel as if there's going to be some sort of, loophole or something that happens bad to them if they participate. And so they don't take advantage of it, but it's literally money, thousands of dollars, millions of dollars when we look at it collectively, that we're leaving on the table as a community if folks don't go out and file a tax return.
Can every household get this, or is this certain qualifications?
So there are definitely stipulations with the earned income tax credit. The earned income tax credit is designed, again, to provide financial relief to families in our community that are at or below the federal poverty guideline. So for example, in 2022, it was estimated that about 204,000 residents in Columbus lived at or below 125% of the federal poverty guideline. And for context, that would be like a family of three that's living at or below $31,000 a year in annual income. If that family was to file a tax return, they would qualify for an earned income tax credit in most cases if they are working and they have children in the household as well, because that's for a family of three, or they have multiple dependents in the household. So it's not everybody. If you're making a wage that the federal government has determined is enough for you to live and pay your own, expenses, this is not a refundable credit. This is really designed for our families that are struggling the most, that are working, that have income coming in, but that income is still not enough to meet the day-to-day obligations. And if they fall into the categories that the federal government, it's a federal poverty guideline that dictates whether or not you're eligible, you would be able to get that credit back.
So how can people get in contact with you, and what are some of the first steps that you would do when someone listening to this broadcast and they contact your organization?
So the first thing that I'm encouraging people to do is recognize that you could have been eligible for this for multiple years. So if you are someone who is maybe fits into that category I just described, where you're a family of three and you're making $31 or less, that's just a broad example. I'll give you some resources of websites you can go to be able to talk to some counselors that can give you more specific details. But let's say I am a person in a family of three and I'm at that line and I haven't filed taxes in the last few years. The first thing that I would say is you can actually go back and recover prior years earned income tax credits. There's a 3-year kind of look back. So if you didn't file last year and you didn't file the year before, there's a chance that you have a couple of years of credits that are still available to you, in addition to things like some of the pandemic relief that was also available. So all of that, there's like a 3-year look back. So that's the first thing. The second is you can get some assistance in filing these tax returns from places that do it as volunteer. So there are something called VITA sites, which are just volunteer income tax assistance. So you can go to our website, which is rtiico.org, and go to RTII News tab. And we have a blog about the earned income tax credit. And when you're on there, you'll see the link to go find the VITA website. You can also go to irs.treasury.gov, free tax prep. And they also have a link that you can put in your zip code and find locations. But in the Franklin County area, you have organizations like Columbus State College, Capital Law School, Franklin University, Impact Community Action Agency, Reeb Avenue Center, Linden Community Center. These are all places that have VITA sites where you can get assistance with filing a tax return. So you can reach out to these organizations and they can walk you through understanding if you are someone that is likely eligible for an earned income tax credit.
Excellent. Before we conclude, are there any more last minute words you want to share with our listeners?
So I want to tell people that we estimate that there are over 24,000 households in Franklin County that did not claim the earned income tax credit in 2022. That's roughly $62 million that had been left on the table by workers that could have been eligible for the credits. The average amount of credit that people typically got when they filed was about $2,600. So I know that when we are talking to residents and neighbors, as we have been trying to better understand solutions that we want to implement for the problems of poverty, folks are telling us things like, every time I go to the grocery store, everything I put in my cart is $5. I'm having a harder time putting gas in my car. I'm having a hard time making sure that my kids can have the things they need for after school, or I can get my medicine. $2,600, and thinking about the fact that many people who didn't file last year probably didn't file the year before and could have multiple years of returns on the table. Don't be ashamed to ask for assistance. This is how our government has decided to make these tools available. You got to go and you have to file. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's not an indictment of your situation. It is exactly how our tax code is written, and we've got to take advantage and use these things and get the help from the volunteers that are designed to make this process easier for us.
Wow, thank you so much. This is valuable information. Hopefully, those that are listening will take heed and take advantage of it. She is the CEO of Rise Together Innovation Institute, Miss Danielle Sydnor. Definitely appreciate you sharing this on Our Community. You take care.
Thank you so much for the time, Sean.
Bye now.